Welcome back to the channel. Today we're actually going to be working on the Jeep. So I haven't driven this thing for quite a while. I've just been doing some supercharger plate setup, getting some measurements, mocking some things up so I can make the supercharger plates for the XJs and the ZJs. And since I actually started playing with it again, I finally ordered the part that I broke last time. So right now the front lower control arm has been pretty well mangled. Not the control arm bracket. It mangled the control arms too, but I replaced those, but never replaced the bracket that's almost ripped off. So right now the axle is shifted back so far on the driver's side that you can't really turn left. It's so much so that if it's not in four-wheel drive, if you turn at all left, it just locks the Jeep down because it's trying to roll the body over the tire. It gets pretty violent, especially with the factory arms. The axle's further back than it needs to be. And then that just made that problem that much worse. So I'll show you this guy. See the gap there? Holy crap, it's broke all the way off now. That's just from moving it around the yard. Holy crap, I got lucky. Alright, well, I don't need to explain just how bad it was, because there it is. Shit. Damn. I haven't taken it down the road, it's just moved around the yard. So, good thing. I know it wasn't hanging on by much. So, we've got new used arms with decent bushings, and I've got a new set of lower brackets. But rather than replacing them with something cut off of another Jeep or something else thin that's going to break, I've got this set from Clayton. The plan is to get everything else kind of ready. I think I'm going to buy someone else's cross member for the middle, and then make my own links, because I want to actually go up at least 2 more inches, probably maybe just another inch, and shove the axle forward, shove the rear backwards. Yeah, probably 2 inches, and then move the axles. But I can't do that with what's on there right now, and I can't even go drive it and play with it. This thing did great in the woods. I was a little aggressive trying to climb some things that didn't belong climbing open with factory everything and 3-inch pucks. I've got front ZJ springs that I think are actually possibly lift springs that look heavier duty than the ones that are on my front for the back, so we can get rid of the pucks. And then all I need is a lift spring for the front, and then we'll have our lift. Of course, that's going to bottom out everything those factory links are going to want to do, but we're going to fix that too. Not today, but soon. Right now, we fixed broken bracket. But these bad boys, 1/4 inch thick. I did not get the adjustable ones. I don't want them adjustable. Once I make my end links, I will make those adjustable, because right now, no matter how much I tighten those things up, they always seem to come loose, and then the bolt ends up sliding forward and backward, just rotating the cam lock that you use with this. So I don't want that as a possibility again. So I got these with no slot. I thought it was going to be a lot of work to measure and get these things where they need to go, but I think it's going to be really easy, actually, because of the way the spring perch doesn't even fit. The way the spring perch sits right there. See if I can reach around. So once I cut that guy off, of course we're going to replace the broken one first. We're going to do these one at a time. Once that's out of the way, this will just go right back up there. So we'll measure the sides, give us some mark, cut all this crap off, and that just butts up against the spring perch. And then we rock on. That's going to be fairly easy. Let's see. There we go. Just like that. Alright, so first things first, I got to get this arm off and get what's left of this one ground off, which isn't much. I'll probably have to head to Harbor Freight and get a flat disc. But yeah, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So let's get to it. Right, I've got everything cleaned up and ready. Got all the old off, got this side cleaned off to weld it back to it. All I've got is a TIG welder, still no MIG, so I'll do the best I can and finish it at work or get a MIG welder soon. But something that needs noted that they didn't supply, there's no instruction I've seen in the box, that these are not the same. There are lefts and rights. This one is cut, let's see, it's not cut as deep, and this one is cut deeper. If you see the thick flange, skinny, skinny, thick. So these actually matter which side they go on. They need to aim inwards. So if I was gonna aim inwards, I would think this one is probably the driver's side. Yeah. So this is the driver's side because it's aiming inward. Here's the passenger side and the view of the control arm. Now this thing is sitting pitched down with that side at droop, so it will move, but the control arm is aiming inwards, so they've got that built into the bracket for you. So the skinny side goes out, and I've measured 9/16 from here to the inside edge of this bracket's where it needs to go. So I've got it cleaned up enough. I'm going to get the welder drug out here and get it tacked. We're just lightly tacked on there, but since it's so hard to measure, since this thing isn't straight, I'm going to measure it this way so both sides are the same. So I've got 5/8 from the edge, and then we're going to call it good. But I've got to get this one together enough that I can put the link back in before I take that one apart. So I'm going to get the welding. And it's welded good enough for right now. My TIG welder is only a TIG 200, and it's a real pain trying to weld this stuff on the ground, but I've got her welded good enough. I didn't tack anything on this side, it's just got a decent tack right there. And if you know anything about TIG, it doesn't like being dirty at all. So I put one tack there, 1.5 stitch, 1.5 stitch to the corner, and 2 stitches on the side. So this is all I'm going to weld it for right now. I will drive it to work tomorrow and MIG weld it with a Miller 252. That's got way more heat. Because if I fully weld it with my TIG welder here, I don't fully trust that I can actually get enough penetration. That's why I only welded the inside that way, and I'll still pull the link off, or pull the lower control arm off and weld the inside where I left gaps with the MIG welder. I'm much more confident in that. But one of them's on there, so I will wrestle this link back on once it cools down a bit. It still gets hotter than damn it. And let the welder cool down too. This thing is freaking warm because it is not water cooled. It is just a Eastwood TIG 200 digital. So once that cools down, I'll get the link back on and we'll rip the other side apart. This side being ripped off was nice. That side, I'm gonna have to spend some time cutting, but we'll get her done. Wasn't too worried about putting the lower arm back in, but something to note when you're trying to get this stuff lined back up, like I'm pretty well lined up now. When I picked it up just off of the chunk, I actually picked it up off the ball joint. I picked it up off the ball joint here, and it didn't line up at all. It was way off. I needed to twist forward, so I dropped it and picked it up off the tie rod. And now I'm good to go. It's got it twisted right where I need it to be. So you got to think while you're doing this stuff, because you can fight this and fight this all you want, but do yourself a favor, try to find the easiest way to get the bolt hole to line up instead of prying and pushing and hitting yourself in the face with things. But that's it. We're going to get this bolt in, then move on to the other side. Let's see if we go straight through. Yeah, threads are coming through. Nice and easy, especially when you're working by yourself. All right. Now I can put this wheel and tire back on. Then after lunch, we'll move on. All right, I'm gonna set you on a stand. I hope you can see because it's getting dark. Time lapse, and I'm gonna get the chopping. This one's welds look better. I actually took the tungsten out that had been previously dipped several times and resharpened it. Made life a little easier. Sometimes the angle to dangle on a TIG is just a pain, especially when you're upside down and stuff's dirty. But it'll work good enough to get to the shop. It came with plates to put right here to box it in. I'm not going to put them in yet until I get everything, until I get it welded with the MIG welder. I'll go grab one and we'll look at it. It's just a block, well, a piece of quarter. There we go. It's gonna end up going right there. But I think, let's see what it looks like with the factory links. That works with the factory links too. No, it doesn't. It hits right there. So we're not going to put these on yet. Yeah, that doesn't make sense going that way. When we weld it on after we get our links, we'll weld across here too. But for right now, I'm just going to drive it to work tomorrow and weld this stuff up. So now I've just got to let that cool down and get the link back in, set this thing back on the ground, tighten the bolts. Alright, everything's tight. You can see where it's polishing everything because it was trying to rip. I was trying to grab this and roll the body up, so even moving around the yard, you have to keep it in four-wheel drive or else it will just plumb lock down. And now that it's not stuck, you can see that it's tight, but it doesn't hit. It really only hits when you're flexing. And once we actually start making things and extending the control arms and shoving the axle forward, that problem we'll see, since we're so chopped out up front. By the time we get the 2-inch lift, we should be able to go a lot further before we really need to do much else. Now, long arms is definitely a hefty job. And that'll be time to upgrade our springs and get rid of the Tractor Supply shock extenders and get something a little more real. well, a little nicer. Those things have been working fine. I'm really surprised it has not ripped those little bolts off. But for now, let's fix this guy up right there. Problem solved. Well, that's going to be it for this video. I've been putting that off for way too long because I've moved and I don't know the area to go play. Everything's kind of far, and this thing, I can drive it on the street, you know, once I register it, but it's getting to the point where I don't want to. It's getting beat up enough it draws some attention. It's not that bad, but no bumpers and bashed in on the side. It's not the end of the world, but driving it I don't think anything's within half an hour. Everything's probably about an hour away or further, so it's kind of hard to drive this thing that far and then really hope it doesn't break. So until I get a trailer, it won't really be seeing the road that much. Now I'm gonna drive it tomorrow so I can use the MIG welder at work, and we'll just be safe. Careful. But that'll fix that. The next thing's gotta be, I either gotta buy extended links or build links, or just go ahead and go to long arm. I don't know if I ever want to leave the 33s. If I went riding with a guy I tuned his Jeep, I would dare say we're buddies maybe, but his on 40 whatevers and big 4-length and just exoskeleton and really built, still sheet metal frame, still popping and cracking even though he has all the stiffeners and all that stuff. So I don't know that I want to go through all that with this. I think maybe long arm, a little more lift, but I think 33s is where it's going to be at for this thing. Now, riding with them, rode with a lot of buggies with frames, those things were cool. I mean, his was cool too, just all the popping and cracking. It's really hard. I don't know that I want to do that to this thing. So I'll probably stick with the Dana 30. I'll do the 8.8 swap in the back. I can do that. And if somehow I come across the front axle that's easy and cheap, I'll do that too. But I think this thing's going to stay on 33s with like a 5-inch lift. We're on 3 now. We'll go up 2 more and extend it. And then I'll build some bumpers and actually get back into it. I've still got to do my rockers, which I'll probably use 2x6, and do some other things, play around with it. And you guys will be here to see that. So if you're one of my long-term followers, thank you for watching. If you're new, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. We'll see you later.